Welcome back to the Man to Man podcast. Today, I want to talk about something that a lot of us feel as men, but rarely say it out loud. And we hide it in a lot of ways, and that is when you don't like who you've become. You wake up, look in the mirror, or even worse, avoid looking in the mirror and feel like a stranger. The weight, the shame, the silence, the wasted time, and all of it adds up to a simple, heavy truth. I don't want to be this version of me anymore. So let's talk about it, man to man. Here's what that moment looked like for me. Although I'd like to say, if I'm being honest, there was multiple of these. But I think this one was the ultimate kicker. I looked in the mirror one day and saw a man who looked tired, unfit, mentally distant, someone I wouldn't want to follow, and someone I wouldn't advise anyone to follow. Now I'm 45, I battled addiction, put on weight, ignored my health, and let my business slip. I realised I'd become the sort of person, in many ways, I despised. When you walk down the street and you see people just wasting their lives. I had become that person. It's a sick feeling when your own reflection becomes a disappointment. Now that does carry some weight. But it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't one big collapse. It was many, many, many tiny things. Sleeping in, binging food, giving into many, many, many temptations, and avoiding responsibility. I numb myself with distractions, my phone, scrolling, takeaways, anything that kept me from, feeling. I used alcohol and drugs for years, initially to party, but then not to party, but to disappear. I stopped leading myself, and life took the wheel. Many days of telling myself, all right, today is going to be the day. And then the morning fades away. Then the afternoon. Then the evening. Okay, tomorrow. And that cycle repeats over and over and over. And some days you do a little bit. But it's the bare minimum. The resentment starts to grow. And that deep down feeling inside, you were meant for so much more. But hey, I'll achieve it by scrolling on Instagram, lying in bed. That's when the shame comes. You continually break promises to yourself, again and again and again. Until one day, you stop believing in yourself completely. Whereas previously you might have had some hope, but instead you broke your promises to yourself. And then before you know it, time has slipped you by. You feel lazy, broken, useless. But it's not laziness, it's shame. You avoid people, calls, mirror. Looking yourself in the fucking mirror. Anything that reminds you of how far you've fallen. You stay quiet because you don't want anyone to see what you see. Yet when you're walking around on your own, you've got all the voice in the world in your head. You can speak for hours on end. But when there's other people there, silence. Because you don't believe in you. You have given yourself no evidence of authority. So why share that? Why share your thoughts or ideas? Now, this podcast and me is not about doom and gloom. It's not about moping around. It's not about continuing the same destructive patterns. This is about change. This is about progress. This is about moving forward and the actions that are needed and the mindset to do that. So how do you change it? Well, this is what I'm doing. I drew a line. I said, this version of me dies here. Not literally, but mentally. And while I've said that many, many, many times over, this one feels different. Because day by day, I'm making more progress. Every day is not going as planned, but I'm being more gentle on myself. And when I do find myself slipping, I give myself a kick. I've wrote out the man I want to become, not for show, but for me. And for those that are under my care and my family, and my standards, my non-negotiables. Again, I have a list of non-negotiables, and sometimes they don't always go to plan. But there's improvements every day. I've written out my goals, my mission, my purpose. For a long while, I couldn't work out the difference between what the difference was between mission and purpose. Now I do. I set one anchor. Walking every day. Getting up early if I've had a good night's kip. Because I have a heart issue, I do need to make sure I get lots of rest. So that doesn't always go to plan. And I give myself permission, if that's the case. When I get up and make the bed, simple things, small wins, that accumulate over time. Even when I feel like a fraud, and I still do, stand up straight. I act like the man I respect. And over time, I'll become that man. Yes, it's a long journey. But you can't put things off forever. And I'm human, so I still slip. But I don't lie to myself anymore. That's the difference. I'm kinder on myself, but also at the times when I feel myself slipping, I have a serious chat to myself. I use the same energy that I used to when I was lying around kicking myself. And I condense that into that moment and get the fuck up. Do something. Do what you need to do. You've got a to-do list. You've got shit to do. Get it done. And then I get up. And that action is the antidote to any anxiety, any self-doubt, any of those voices in your head that keep booting you. And sometimes rightly. We all need to give ourselves a kick in. But when you just let those voices continue and you do nothing about it, that's when it gets detrimental. But that action, doing things, keeping busy, moving towards your purpose, moving towards your mission, or standing by your mission, breaking down those goals bit by bit. And when one bit's done, move on to the next. When you need to take time out, take time out. But actually take time out. Don't just sit there numbing yourself. Relax. Enjoy the beauty of the world. Enjoy the time with your family. Connect. So why fight? Why change? That's the question. You've been on this path for however long. And if you're listening to this and you was like me, then that path only leads to a lifetime of misery. Or you can flip it. And like I say, start small. Can't change everything at once, but you do have to make a conscious effort. Here's why I fight. For that man, every day. First of all, my daughter's watching. And I want her to grow up. Or I won't let her grow up with a ghost for a dad. I want her to say or feel that her dad is someone that she can look up to, feel safe around. That's even looked after her when I'm gone. Through the lessons. Through those actions. And financially also. I'm using this podcast to show that journey. Be humble with it, but be vulnerable as well. Because speaking it out loud for me is a good way of channeling those thoughts. Laying them out in a way that I can understand. And hopefully you can understand as well. So I'm using things like this podcast, this journey, my routines, not for show, more like a rescue mission. You don't have to be perfect for your kids, but you do have to be fucking present. You do have to be honest. You do have to lead. You do have to provide. And even if you don't have kids, if you don't turn things around, you will have spent 30, 40, 50, 60 years of misery and pain and self-hatred. Or you can exchange all that for a choice, for a decision, and a bit of truth and honesty. So say, I don't want that. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to mitigate that as much as possible. And understand that it is small actions repeated over and over. Routines. Permission to enjoy. An action. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like an excellent trade-off. Because the alternative is hell. So if you're listening to this and thinking, that's me, here's what I want to say to you. And believe me when I tell you this. You're not a lost cause. Far from it. You're just not done yet. You don't need a new life either. You need a new decision and tiny steps. You already know outright who you don't want to be. That's your starting point. You want to work towards something and avoid the alternative. This isn't about fixing you. It's about finding yourself. And you only find yourself through action. The real you. The one buried under years of survival. You've still got time. So use it. One step, one choice, one day. So if you're listening to this and you are in that position, which if you've listened to the entirety of this episode, I pretty much guarantee you are. If that's where you are right now, you've got two choices. At this point, now, this second, while watching this video, you can watch another. Get lost in the YouTube algorithm. Waste some more hours. And still feel the same. Or you can put that phone down. Look around you. What needs fixing? What needs tidying? What needs sorting? Start small. And then when that's done, what next? What next can you fix? Understand that you can't fix it overnight or in one session, but you can make a start. And then when the day's over, take a moment and reflect. Look around you. Feel good. Feel proud. Because you wouldn't have done that. And then get up again and do the same tomorrow. Rise up. Taking a deep breath. Feel how good it is just to be alive. Know that that's a blessing in itself. And then carry on. What needs doing? Those are the choices you have. I know which one I'd choose. And I know which one, deep down, you want to choose. The real question is, will you? So that's it for this one. If you don't like who you are right now, good, as Jocko Willing would say. That means you're awake. So now it's time to get to work. Who you've been up until this point is not who you have to stay. Let's become men we can be proud of. Thanks for listening.